I already said this, that all of the children of the Prophet ﷺ were through Khadija. We said that there were at least 6 children. The reason why at least 6, the first child of the Prophet ﷺ, you should all know his name, it is Al-Qasim. And Al-Qasim, the Prophet ﷺ's kunya was Abu Al-Qasim. That's his first child. His kunya is Abu Al-Qasim. Al-Qasim, it is said that he was born in the days of Jahiliyyah. He was born before the wahi began. He was born before the wahi began. It is said that Al-Qasim had reached the age where the boys could ride on the camel. 6, 7, 8 years old. And then he passed away. That's all that we have. It's the only thing we know about him. Not one story has been preserved. But 6, 7, 8 years old before he passed away. And then the Prophet ﷺ had Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum, and Fatima, the youngest daughter. 4 daughters. Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum, and Fatima. And then he had his final son with Khadija, and that is Abdullah. Now, some people say he also had At-Tahir and At-Tayyib. And so they add 2 more to make it 8. However, the strongest position is that Abdullah had 2 nicknames, At-Tahir and At-Tayyib. And so At-Tahir and At-Tayyib is Abdullah. And At-Tahir means the pure one, and At-Tayyib also means the pure one. And this is what the nicknames they would have for their child. And Abdullah died in infancy without even in Islam. He was born after the wahi and he died in Islam. Of course, the 4 daughters, all of them lived to maturity. All of them married. And the 3 of them died in his own lifetime. So he ﷺ buried his own daughters with his hands. The 3 daughters he buried with his own hands. Only Fatima outlived him. And even Fatima, on his deathbed, he told Fatima something and she cried. And when he saw her crying, this is his daughter and he loves his daughter like only a father can love a daughter. He calls his daughter again and he whispers something and she laughs. Many months later, Aisha asked Fatima, can you tell me that conversation? I want to know. And so Fatima confessed and she said, my father told me that he's about to die and I couldn't bear except to cry. So when he saw me crying, he called me and he said, you will be the first of my family to meet me. Meaning you're going to die soon. So I laughed, subhanAllah. I laughed because I'm going to meet the Prophet ﷺ the first. And Fatima only lived a few months after the Prophet ﷺ before she passed away as well. Now, it is interesting to comment here, and perhaps maybe we'll go back to this later on, but it's interesting to comment here, subhanAllah, the Prophet ﷺ, it is as if he is facing the most traumatic problems after problems. Because the most traumatic thing that can happen to a child is to lose parents. And the most traumatic thing that can happen to a parent is to lose the child. Isn't that the case, right? I mean, there is no musibah on earth that is more painful than these 2. There is no musibah. Wallahi, there is no musibah. And we as parents know this, that there is nothing that is more painful to us than to lose a child. And as a child, the most painful and dreadful thing, and this is something we have forgotten that phase of our younger lives, but the fact of the matter is, subhanAllah, look at what happens when a 4 or 5-year-old loses their parents in the supermarket. What happens? They go crazy and wild that they cannot see their parents because they get so worried. Because there's nothing more conceivably, dramatic or disaster for this child than to lose the ones that love and take care of this child, right? Our Prophet ﷺ is multiple times orphaned. Father, then mother, then grandfather, then uncle, one after the other. And he's multiple times losing his own children. First the eldest, Al-Qasim, and then Abdullah. And then of course he has Ibrahim. Now Ibrahim, by the way, was not born of his wife, it was born of his maidservant, his Amma. And so none of his wives gave birth. Amma is different fiqh-wise, and that's maybe we'll talk about it in its time. None of the other wives of the Prophet ﷺ became pregnant other than Khadija. So it is as if Allah is giving him the most difficult tragedies that is imaginable. And in this, wallahi, is great wisdom. It is as if Allah is telling him that your purpose in life is to be afflicted. That this life is nothing but suffering. That even the greatest human being is not going to live a comfortable life in this world. In fact, because he is the greatest, he will suffer like no one else is suffering. Because it is through these trials that so many things happen. First and foremost, one's relationship with Allah is established. SubhanAllah, how true is it? When we live comfortable lives, our hearts become hard. Isn't that the case? When money is pouring in, health is good, wealth is good, who cares? Pray regularly, make dua on and off. Soon as your son falls ill, soon as you lose your job, soon as a musibah happens, what happens? The hands go up, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Isn't this the case, right? And Allah knows this. And living through these trials, it makes a person's heart closer to Allah. It's automatic. And the Prophet needed to have this closeness to Allah. Also, living through these trials and afflictions, true servitude is reached. That you understand who you are and who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Living through these trials and afflictions gives you patience. And you will need patience if you're going to be the Prophet of Allah. You will need to have the utmost patience. And so he is afflicted with the greatest calamities to bring about that patience. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him through these hardships, because by these hardships your own heart becomes soft. Subhanallah, when you've lived in poverty, then you will feel something for those who are poor. It's nature, human nature. And when you've lived in opulence and luxury, you don't connect with the rich, with the poor. You don't connect with them at all. It is not a coincidence that our Prophet ﷺ has so many ahadith about taking care of the orphan. He knows how it feels. There's a hadith that even says, if you can't give money to the orphan, at least rub his hair and make dua. Be gentle with him. Because he knows what it is to be an orphan. He knows what it is. And so the commandment comes that at least rub the hair, meaning you show some tenderness to the orphan. So Allah chose these trials upon the Prophet ﷺ so that when he grows older, he can bear his own trials, and then he can be a merciful person. Because through trials, you develop your own mercy. And even though Allah tried him, still Allah didn't try him beyond his capacity. Allah blessed him with both sons and daughters to give him a taste of fatherhood, and to silence those who try to mock him. Because if he didn't have any children, subhanAllah, people could have said very vulgar things about him. But Allah blessed him with both sons and with daughters. Even though Allah took the sons away, and subhanAllah, when He took the son away, I gave this halaqah before the tafsir of Surat AlKawthar. إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلَّ بِكَ وَانْحَرْ إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. When Abdullah died, right? Abdullah was his youngest son. Abdullah was his youngest child. When Abdullah died, astaghfirullah, how crude and how callous. Abu Jahl runs through Mecca cheering for joy that قَدْ بَتَرَ مُحَمَّدٌ قَدْ بَتَرَ مُحَمَّدٌ. That he's so happy that the Prophet's son has died, that his progeny has cut off, because the Arabs, everything is male children for them. Everything is male children. And if you don't have a male child, then you might as well be sterile, you might as well have nothing. And so he's running through Mecca, that قَدْ بَتَرَ مُحَمَّدٌ قَدْ بَتَرَ مُحَمَّدٌ, that his progeny has been cut off, his progeny has been cut off. And can you imagine, your son has just died? Wallahi, only parents understand the possibility of that pain. And on top of that, your worst enemy is running through the town crying for joy. How much pain and grief that would have brought to our Prophet ﷺ. And Allah revealed 3 surahs, 3 ayat that were more beloved to the Prophet ﷺ than this whole world and all that it contained. إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. We have given you plenty. Don't worry, we have taken away one thing, we've given you Al-Kawthar. And Al-Kawthar is many things that we explained. Al-Kawthar is the paradise, Al-Kawthar is everything in paradise, Al-Kawthar is the river of paradise. إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. Pray to Allah, sacrifice to Him. Those who oppose you, they will be the ones who are cut off from everything. إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. Those who follow you will flourish. You will be وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. You will be the one whose rank has been raised. Your opponents will be those who are cut off from all good. And as I pointed out, the only people who mention Abu Jahl's name and Abu Lahab's name are those who despise and hate them. What a legacy is this? What a legacy. The only people in the world who know them are those who hate and despise them. Us Muslims. That we want nothing to do with them. What a legacy have they left? إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. And there are also wisdoms that the Prophet ﷺ was not allowed to have sons, by the way. This is theological issue. That later on in life, when the Prophet ﷺ had Ibrahim, He had Ibrahim when he was around 59 years old, 59 or 60 years old. He had Ibrahim much later in his life. And Ibrahim lived for a year and a half, 18 months. And for those of us who are parents, you know that this is the sweetest age of children, because then the terrible twos begin after that, right? The most tender age for children, the most love that you can have is really at this tender age, where they're a year and a half. And Allah blessed him with this because it's still such a blessing to be a father, and it's such a blessing to have a child to play with. But Allah knew that he could not be a father for long term, and so Allah caused Ibrahim as well to pass on to the next world. And the Prophet was greatly grieved and he was crying. And in one hadith in Ibn Majah he said, listen to this, a lot of Muslims don't know this hadith. The Prophet said that had Ibrahim lived, he would have been a prophet. It's not possible that the son of Rasulullah not be a prophet. It's not possible. Had Ibrahim lived, he would have been a Nabi. But there is going to be no Nabi after me. And so Allah had to seal the prophecy. The Prophet knew this. And so this is a theological reason as well, that the Prophet cannot have sons and he can only have daughters. And I have to add here as well, what a fitna it was for the ummah that his daughters had sons after. And what did our ummah do with those sons? And what groups were formed exaggerating the status of those grandchildren through women? Imagine if there was a male progeny. Wallahi, groups have taken this male progeny from a woman, Fatima, and made them to be what they have made them. If there was a male progeny of the Prophet directly, the ummah would have made them into prophets and gods walking on the earth. And it is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He knew the weakness. And so He just cut it off. Because the Prophet's son would have been a prophet, so he's not going to have any sons that grow to maturity.